So can you explain how today's video mix of distribution platforms, devices, formats, and monetization mechanisms has impacted your business?
It's not only, the need to identify cross-catalog discovery in order to put the content right in front of the right people and sort of get the content for the right person at the right time, but it's about personalization. It's about mixing live TV with streaming, and there still is a concept of live sports, etc. But the last piece that I think is maybe in addition to what has been mentioned here with the rest of the team is offering consumer bundling and choices that they can choose themselves. This is a challenge, right? The share of wallet is critical. And I think what TiVo brings to the table is to help our partners as well as the viewers themselves make the right decisions about, who's my audience, how can I reach my audience, how can I get in touch with them, and then obviously consumers, how do I bundle the right set of pieces of content together? Because especially in stretch times during COVID, there are these decisions that have to be made. Fortunately, we're in sort of a really unique position. TiVo is tens of millions of monthly subscribers and a major footprint that allows us to sort of glean different lessons on how people engage, with the ultimate idea of trying to reduce churn and trying to help, keep people engaged so that, it's very easy these days. It's a single click of a button to cancel. And we need to make sure that content is constantly getting in front of people in the right way, in a very seamless way, so they discover it quickly and stay engaged.
What role does brand really have when, we seem to spend a lot of time with recommendation engines pushing content at us in search functions? Isn't the content really the draw that's bringing us in? How does brand fit in to that picture?
Well, I think it's a combination. I think there's a certain amount of time, and Rob, I think, hit the nail on the head in saying that there are times that people have a high intent, and there are times that people are more, want to be, given something and recommended something. And where I think brand becomes important. There was an article I saw just last week from my list from IGN that said that 62% of people have actually canceled a subscription service after they finish a particular show. And I think, to me, that's a critical moment where brand comes into play. If you don't have that brand loyalty, unfortunately, you're going to get bit by that 62%. How we've tried to address that, in addition to, making content relevant and making it available to people and so on. This is something that TiVo launched back in the end of last year, was our TiVo score. And it really is a way of helping consumers understand what's coming from each of their, 7, 8, 10 apps, however many they have. So they can really start to appreciate that it's not just this one show, but there's actually all these other shows that are just as equivalent to it. It's more than just, a catalog of 500 pieces of content. It's the 5 pieces of content that really matter for you or for the next individual or for the next individual. And we've really seen a lot of engagement with that. It's called our TiVo Marketplace, but really the match score, that we help make sure that the people can develop that brand knowledge and that brand awareness.
So mobile, should we be thinking about mobile differently?
No, I would echo what everybody has said here. I think it's very seamless these days. I mean, my kids are in that, early teenage years where they have migrated over the last few years from doing what we tell them to do to, of course, not doing what we tell them to do. And so they're developing their own habits and behaviors, and you can see that it's just super seamless. So the only other piece that I'd add to this part of the conversation is to say that I think the onus is on us as sort of industry professionals to provide a common experience across all of these different devices. Because one thing for certain is the case, that when you have, a different UI with a different experience on mobile than 10-foot, it becomes confusing. We don't do anybody any favors by having differences there. So I think that's our challenge. We got to make sure that it's a seamless experience across all.
Voice search should obviously operate across all of the services that are on the platform. Not so easy to do that, is it, Chris?
Actually, I think what we're now looking at is sort of a phase 2, if you will, of the second rollout of voice on these aggregation platforms as they interact with the different apps and the different catalogs. I mean, what I've seen, over the last, let's say, 12 to 24 months, maybe beyond, simple voice works, yes, But there is a tug of war happening right now between the operator, the OS of those platforms, and then the apps themselves. And when the OS takes control, and when the OS, let's call it some sort of digital assistant, is there to answer the question versus passing that back to the individual catalogs. And there is a tug of, let's be honest, there's a tug of war of eyeballs just in that right there. And I've started to see now different catalogs and different content owners come to the table and say, look, this is where we're looking to stake our claim. When somebody is doing something in app, we want to have control of that. When somebody is on platform, but it's this kind of thing, we want to have access to that. And so I really think this question is well placed. We are right in the middle of, I think, a lot of that starting to become ironed out, because the first iteration of voice was great. You could find the show title, sure, you could find the movie title, but it needs to go beyond that, and it needs to work seamlessly, and it isn't right now. There's still a lot of work to be done.